Live. Pretty sure we are. I see the old live indicator. So, welcome to Chip Talks. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. I know we've got some new friends out there listening, probably that have never listened before. So, welcome to the show. If you're new, what we try to do here is teach you about how you work, empower you basically to take back your health and take back your spiritual health. We'll cross over into religion. We'll cross over into Christianity. We'll talk, which is religion. We'll talk about philosophy. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff on Chip Talk. So this show is broad ranging. We might get into some conspiracy theory stuff even. I certainly know I've got some friends out there who are Anons who listen to this show, and we all will thank God for the Anons in the very near future, if you're not already, because Anons are doing a lot of good on the back end. So anyway, welcome to my Anon friends. Welcome to my new Ada friends. Welcome to all of you guys who are listening to the show for the first time. So this is going to be a fun one. This is an important show. Where we're going to talk about your immune health. So we're going to get a little bit into your immune system and what your immune system is. And then we're going to talk about how that ties over to spirituality and how that ties to spirit. So should be fun, right? So should be an interesting journey. Hopefully it fits and aligns with your beliefs. I don't do this to try to disrespect anyone. It's just, these are the truths that I've found. And it's really cool when you, like I've been a seeker all my life, so I'm a mathematician, I'm a, engineer, I have read philosophy my entire life, I've, been a seeker, been interested in UFOs and ET stuff my entire life, so I've always kind of viewed the world in a little bit different way. But anyway, what I try to do is take these truths that I found and teach you about them, or at least give you the opportunity to, have the same knowledge I have. And I think they're important truths, or I wouldn't be talking about them, but I think they're important truths. And again, I'm trying to knit together a story here through, this and other channels of a bigger picture of how you work, of how this universe works, how God touches us, how beautiful and divine this place is if we just open our eyes. So cool stuff, right? Hopefully you enjoy what our today's topic. But anyway, today's topic is brought to you by it goes that way. It's right there. Neighborhood Nutrition and Clinic. And Neighborhood Nutrition and Clinic is located in Ada, Oklahoma. And what you're looking at behind me is Neighborhood Nutrition and Clinic. If you want to, what they do is they do thermal imaging, which is really cool. So what that looks like is a thermograms. And with that, we can detect a lot of things about your health. I don't know why every doctor's office doesn't have thermal imaging, because it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And it's a great diagnostic. We do bioresonance, if you're familiar with that. So if you're familiar with the Rife technologies, this is old, newer, I would say, Rife technology. And we'll be doing more and more of that in the very near future. And then we also offer nutritional services. So as you'll hear, if you listen to Chip Talks, we're pretty good in the nutritional area. And so we've developed some smoothies and shakes and things like that that will help support everything that we talk about here on your health journey. So our dream would be to have you come into Neighborhood Nutrition and Clinic, potentially with a health problem, and kind of help you manage yourself through that health problem to wellness and then beyond. So there's a lot about human function that we just don't even understand yet. I mean, we think we're there, right? We think we're all we can be. No, we're not. That's the furthest thing from the truth. And I can prove that to you, and I will over the course of these talks, probably many times if I do my job. So hopefully I do my job right. So anyway, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about the immune system and spirituality. And hopefully you guys can see that little screen, but we're going to walk through again some slides, but I'll talk you through the slides if you're listening, if you're on the road, if you're listening to this on audio without video. I'll talk you through this pretty good, so don't worry. But if you need to go back to the video, it's probably the best way to watch it. So what is the immune system? Well, think about this. We're a temple, right? So didn't Jesus teach us that, or God, our body is a temple? So what does that mean? Well, we have entries and exits to our temple. And our temple really is guarded, and it's guarded by something we call the immune system. So our bodies need a screen. We need to be able to discern the things coming into us. Is it food? Is it a good thing? Or is it bacteria? Is it a bad thing, right? So we have to be able to discern kind of what's coming into us. And we have to have some intelligence there because, again, we have to make some decisions as to is something good or bad. There's good bacteria, right? So we're learning about the microbiome. Again, bacteria probably on the whole is not a good thing, but there are helpful commiserate bacteria, let's say. And again, your body has to understand the difference between good and bad bacteria. So, and that's what the immune system is built to do, is understand these differences and basically guard our temple, right? So the immune system is the guardian. It's the Swiss guard of the Vatican, right? So it's our guardians of the gate in our temple. Let me just read this to you, though. So this talks about the main job of and so you have two types of immune systems, and we'll get into this. You have something called the innate immunity, and we'll define what that is and talk a lot about that in a second. And then you have adaptive immunity. And adaptive immunity is learned, obviously, by the word adaptive, but it's a learned immune response. And so that's something that, like, vaccines are trying to provoke in you, is an adaptive immune response to that antigen, that, whatever they're injecting in you, like COVID, right? Because our bodies do this naturally. So a long time ago, early medicine, they realized, hey, somebody got sick with that respiratory thing. And then they were around a bunch of people after that had that respiratory thing, and they didn't get sick. Natural immunity. That's adaptive immunity. The main job of the innate immune system is to fight harmful substances and germs that enter the body. So innate is sort of job one. That's the killer cells. That's the thing that's going to try to kill and attack things that your immune system think are harmful when they enter your body. For instance, through the skin or digestive system. Yeah, so again, those are entries to your temple. So the adaptive or specific immune system makes antibodies and uses them to specifically fight certain germs that the body has previously come into contact with. So again, you learn about germs, and your adaptive immune system fights that way. And it goes out and tries to sort of neutralize the germs and then get rid of them and eliminate them. So it doesn't try to kill them. It's a little softer, I would say, method. All right, so what are the components of your immune system? So what are the pieces of your immune system? Your tonsils and your adenoids. I haven't really looked at this, but I had my tonsils out a long time ago. I don't know what that does to your immune system, but I'll look at that for everyone because it certainly would have an impact. Your thymus is a big part of the regulatory part of your lymphatic system, but your lymphatic system is a big part of your immune system. So it's kind of your first line of defense. Your lymphatic system is your waste system. So it's kind of the sewer system in your body, if you will. But it's also the way things can move around in your body, and so it's fluid, so it's the fluid system that's not blood that's in your body. So we're kind of, what are we, 70% water? Well, that's lymphatic, right? But lymphatic is the way that basically we waste things. So if you think about, if you've got a cell, like a muscle cell, so that muscle cell is being fed by blood, right? So blood runs in, feeds that cell oxygen, and it's got fats that it's eating, so it does its mitochondrial stuff. But then it's got waste products, and so those waste products come out of that muscle into lymphatic, and then they drain out of you through your lymphatic system, through urea and all that. So anyway, and urine. And feces as well, but mainly urine and from your lymphatic. Okay, so I guess it would be all urine in your lymphatic because it's liquid. Components of the immune system. So you have your immune system consists of lymphatic, okay, but what are the cellular components of the immune system? These all come from bone, okay? So what happens when your immune system, when you need to express immune cells? So what happens is basically in your bones, you build in your bone marrow is where you build all of the stem cells that you need to form all of these cells, okay? So the stem cells start in bone. And when your immune system gets activated, and this is endocannabinoid, by the way, boys and girls. So how do the stem cells get activated? Endocannabinoid action. How do the stem cells migrate out of the bone and into the lymphatic system? Through your joints, through synovial fluid, the endocannabinoid system. So anyway, the endocannabinoid system, because it's your master regulatory system, so it regulates your immune response, and it regulates your immune response at the highest level by cueing stem cells or initiating bones to make more stem cells, and also cueing stem cells, and then it also differentiates stem cells. So see all these different guys on the screen? They know what they are, and they know that they're differentiated by the endocannabinoid system. So that's how important it is in your immune response. You know, we're going to talk about building an immune response, and the way that you build an immune response is bulk up your endocannabinoid system, okay? But anyway, these guys are components of your immune system. So a stem cell comes from your bone. Again, it gets into your blood system through synovial fluid and joints, all right? Pretty important stuff. But then, and when it gets into your blood, it becomes a blood stem cell. At this point, it can differentiate, again, that's endocannabinoid controlled, into different types of immune cells. The ones on the right, so you can kind of see at the bottom right, that group of cells, so those are all called white blood cells. And white blood cells are super important responders to both your sort of initial immune response and also adaptive immunity, which we'll talk about more. Okay, so adaptive versus innate immunity. So you have two types of immune responses. You have something else called a, commiseral immune response or something, which I haven't studied much, but I'll study more, but it's sort of a secondary response. But anyway, you have two main, let's say, immune systems or immune type responses. And one is called innate immunity, and that's really sort of the first thing that happens. So the first time your body sees something, or if something gets into your temple, let's say, gets by the Swiss guards in the Vatican, well then the first thing that tries to attack it is your innate immune system. And so you've got these killer cells that go out and try to kill whatever, and they're aggressive, right? So they're really trying to kill it, whatever it is. Now, sometimes that doesn't work. So let's say in the case of like COVID-19, right? So COVID-19, when it first gets in you, it's going to invoke a type 1 immune response. So your body's going to try to kill it. When it understands that it can't kill it, so you're going to get sick with it and all that, it's going to stop, because a type 1 response requires a lot of resources, and that's hard to do. It's like a full frontal assault, right? So it's like, General Patton, full frontal assault with innate immunity. And it takes a lot of resources to do that. And if you're not winning that war, well, General Patton, back off. You need to back off and kind of save those resources and go to another strategy. So strategy 2 is something called adaptive immunity. And adaptive immunity is more like people who have chronic inflammation, again, so you're not killing it with innate immunity, so you're going to switch over to type 2 adaptive immunity to save you from the battle, save you from losing the war. And this happens a lot with chronic inflammation. So it's, adaptive immunity can get cued by just innate immunity not working, but it also can get cued by things like COVID. So again, first time you see it, you're going to try to kill it right off. Your body's going to get tired of doing that and go, okay, this one's going to get us. We just got to go ahead and get sick with it. And it's going to help you not get so sick with it. But then next time you see it, your body will recognize it. And that's what adaptive immunity does, is it creates this recognition system. And so next time, and they're called antigens, so COVID is an antigen, but next time your body sees that antigen, your body will go, oh, I know what that is. And it will send these adaptive immune cells out to sort of neutralize it. It doesn't really kill it, but it tries to neutralize that protein and get rid of it and eliminate it. So isn't that cool how that works? But if, one of the problems that we have right now is we're so chronically I'll tell you why, because it's all about the immune system, and it's kind of, I'll wait, it's sort of the recap or the gist of this entire thing that I want you to kind of understand. But anyway, so this is the way those two work. So innate versus adaptive immunity. And right now, I'll just tell you, just health-wise in our health system, as you sort of evaluate people, we're all over here in adaptive immunity. So none of us really have a very good innate immune response anymore. And the reason for that is most of us are chronically inflamed. And again, I'll make some more points about that later. Okay, so cancer. Well, what is cancer and how does cancer happen? And I want to talk to you about this because I just want to make another point about your immune system here, and then we're going to tie it to spirituality, which will be pretty cool. But to me, cancer is, if there's a devil, spiritually, well, cancer would be the physical manifestation of that. It's just, it's been around for a long time. I mean, it's the biggest, plague demand probably ever. It kills more of us than it should. 25% of us, I think, or something like that, will get, not die, but will get, some form of cancer. So it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. And the sad thing is, we understand this very well. Yeah, I mean, you think that this is a big mystery, that millions of dollars are spent on research here to kill cancer. It's well understood. Then it's well understood how to kill it. It's just, again, is it in the best interest of $1 billion business model to do that? No, it's not. So sadly, they let us suffer. So there you go, for a profit. Huh. All right, so cancer, how do you, again, I'm not going to talk about, you could go, I think 2 shows ago, we did a whole show about cancer. So if you want to know about how to kill cancer and about how well known that is, go watch that show. But just a quick point about this is, you have normal cells mutate. I mean, there's a lot of things that'll cause cell damage, a lot of things that'll cause cell damage. So the sun can cause cell damage. But you have a cleanup system, which is nice. But let's say you get in the sun, you go on that trip to Cancun, right? And so you don't wear sunscreen. And again, the sun is a really good thing. The sun's helpful, but this is a bad thing that can happen from the sun if we don't understand how our body works. So again, you could get cell damage from the sun, get a sunburn. You could cause a bunch of cells to mutate. You could go back out the next day, get cell damage on those mutated cells, and have those mutate again into a second mutation, and then the third mutation. And about the 4th mutation, you're going to get some kind of cancer, okay? Now, do our bodies have a mechanism for guarding us against cancer? Yeah, we got 2 of them. We got a gene called P53, and that's in that other talk. But we've also got an immune response that's supposed to help us with cancer. And that's something called autophagy. And autophagy is a thing that happens as an immune response when we're in a certain state in our bodies. And we have to be in a certain metabolic state for this to happen. Now, again, what happens to these mutated cells as long as we put our bodies in the right state? We never get to a second mutation. It never happens because we clean them up with this process. But we've got to understand how our bodies work, and we've got to understand what initiates this process. What initiates this process is over here on the left in the orange, and it's something called AMPK. You will hear me talk about AMPK a lot because don't you wonder sometimes, how do all these things make us better, right? So how does turmeric work, and how does, cannabis work if you're a cannabis person? How does exercise work? How does fasting work? How do all these things work? And they work in kind of the same magical way, and we get kind of the same magical results. Well, the reason they work is they all push this same button called AMPK. And AMPK pushes just all these magical processes inside of us. And one of them is called autophagy. So again, we're not going to clean up. We're way more at risk of cancer if we don't press this button than if we do. And if we do press this button, when this button is pushed, you can't have cancer. Just put it that way. I mean, it might be in you for a little bit, but your body's just going to clean it up. Okay? So it's that important. And again, how do we unpush this button? Eat. Every time you eat, you unpush that button. 5 hours after you eat, your body repushes it. Okay? But when you eat, you push that button, you shut off autophagy. You shut off your body's ability to deal with these mutations. Following me? Okay, but wait, there's more. So what else does the immune system do? Well, it does a lot. Again, so how does our body clean up? How does our body repair? Most people don't realize this. It's, we hear this and we're sort of scared and I think misled into this false assumption that, two things, genetics and DNA, right? So first of all, we're misled into this assumption that you have a genetic state and that it's like concrete, that it never moves, right? Oh, you have the MTHFR gene. I'm so sorry. Nah, sorry. It doesn't work that way. Those genes can be off, and those genes are like MTHFR, that gene is hard to stimulate, so it's hard to kind of turn back on. But you just stimulate it to turn it back on. Your body's going to turn it back on. That's something called epigenetics. So again, I can change your genetic state right now. Hold this piece of lead and your body's going to just turn on all this machinery. But if I did that, if I gave you a piece of lead to hold, your body's going to turn on all of this machinery that's going to also help and repair your DNA, which is really, really cool. So DNA is kind of a topic lately in some circles, because people have pointed to DNA. And repairing DNA is something that your body does all on its own. You have to actually have two genes that do it. They're called SIRT1, SIRT2. Well, you have 6, I guess, certain genes they're called. But anyway, they repair your DNA. So we've got a mechanism to repair DNA. But it doesn't turn on unless we push AMPK. Yeah. Okay. And how do we push AMPK? We fast. That's the easiest way. Again, there's things right now, my green tea that I'm drinking has something in it called Restorval. Restorval pushes AMPK. It pushes it even harder when I'm in a fasted state. And I'm in a fasted state right now. So hold on just a second. Let me push my AMPK a little because I want to prevent my cancer. I also want to do all the other things that AMPK does, which are, again, it's in everything that I talk about, so you guys won't have any problem figuring out what it does. Okay, intermittent fasting triggers an anti-inflammatory response in the body as well as promotes autophagy. Why? Because it pushes AMPK, which is the bodily process that involves removing dead and infected cells, as in bacteria as well. Benefits that may be linked to these findings related to COVID-19 outcomes. So again, I just put in Google, does fasting benefit the immune system? And this is the first thing that popped up. Again, you can do your own research, but a lot of stuff will pop up. But I just thought that was cool. Now, you guys don't know this, but you can research this really easy. 80% of us will die of an inflammatory disease. Yeah, and that's just facts, statistics. So heart disease is in there because that has to do with inflammation. So wouldn't it be important to understand how to do anti-inflammatory things? I think. And here's one that, again, you can do at home. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to go, listen to somebody. You don't have to do powers in your hands now. Okay? So if you have an autoimmune disease, that is too active of an inflammatory system, right? Do you want to help that? Doing something that's anti-inflammatory might help that. And fasting is the biggest and best thing that you can do. You can, I sell supplements. You can buy my supplements. Those will help. They're Restorval. They're designed to do this. But again, you have the power to do this on your own. Okay, so, and again, just more proof of kind of what happens. So dietary intervention impacts immune cell function and dynamics by inducing metabolic rewiring. So this is a study, so you can go pull this study if you want to read more about it. That sort of no food sign here, so that basically you could put AMPK there. Again, AMPK does all of those things. AMPK is magic sauce. Okay, so does this have anything to do with spirituality? Well, first of all, again, every single religion on the planet has something to do with fasting, right? So every single spiritual sort of discipline always talks about fasting. Because in most of the spiritual disciplines, if you really kind of get into them, the holistic pieces of them, meaning, and what does holistic mean? It just means mind, body, spirit. So like if I'm holistically treating you, I'm going to be concerned with all of those areas. So it's not just whole body. I mean, that is a holistic treatment as well. So I'm going to be concerned with everything about your body, but I'm also going to be concerned with your mind and your spirit because that is a part of who you are. So again, holistic, interesting. The TV just made noise. I may have to turn that off. But anyway, holistic, really holistic, a holistic view of things is where I consider you mind, body, and spirit. So, you know, we try to do that. But religions, again, tie to body through fasting. And fasting is I'm telling you, the most important health thing that we can do is understand fasting because it pushes AMPK, and AMPK is so beneficial. It's the why of why all herbs work. It's the why, you know, sort of big picture of why medical marijuana works, of why a lot of these things work is they push that AMPK button. And again, this is what ancient sort of philosophies and you know religions and what Christianity is teaching us with fasting is the importance to take care of our temple, to take care of our body. And again, we have to push the AMPK button, and the easiest way to do that is to fast. Isn't that cool? So again, 5 spiritual benefits of building a fasting practice. And this is general, you know, so this isn't necessarily Christian. And again, this relates to, I mean, if you're Muslim, you have Ramadan, right? You know, every religion has, I believe, the Jewish fast on Sabbath, right? So every religion has, you know, some form of fasting in it. Fasting can cleanse your soul. Fasting can create a new desire to commune with a higher power. Fasting creates helps. Fasting creates helps. Fasting creates helps. You appreciate your body that much more. There might be a little sentence structure with that one. Fasting provides you with time to think and pray, which it does, and fasting can foster a new sense of satisfaction, which it does. So if you're spiritual, if you're meditative, I mean, you're probably doing this anyway because these things just go together. And that's really the point of this talk is that, or this podcast, is that, you know, how do I become a spiritual being? Well, part of becoming a more spiritual being is to understand that you can look at it this way. So, you know, we understand probably if we're spiritual that we have a soul, right? And that soul is sort of connected to us and connected to heaven or God or, you know, whatever you're sort of however you envision that. But there's kind of a me up here in spirit, and then there's a sort of a me here that's, you know, part of my physical reality. At least that's the way that I think about it. Again, how much me is in this physical reality? Well, I think, you know, and that sure seems related, and it would make sense that that's related to how clean your temple is, right? If you don't have a clean temple, you're not going to probably be a real spiritual person, or you're not going to have the ability, let's just say, to be as spiritual as you could be. And that's the best way to say it. So with a clean temple, we have a lot of room for a lot of spirit. With a dirty temple, we don't. Hopefully that makes sense. But, you know, that's kind of the way that I'm viewing it, and that's the way that I'm seeing it in sort of these truths that I'm uncovering, which is really, really cool. But this is just more of a look of, and trying to teach you guys too. I don't want to hold on to them. Here you go. But this is more of just a holistic look at who we are and what we are as sort of the things that are walking the earth right now. But we certainly are spirit, you know, and we can sense this through our love, through our purpose, you know, through our meaning, so our attention, you know, the things that we're passionate about. We have a conscious mind, and we also have a subconscious mind. So our conscious mind, again, is our reasoning, our thinking, our, hopefully I got your wheels turning over there on the conscious mind side this morning. And then our subconscious mind is, sort of our impulses and our deeper feelings and things like that. And then we have a body, obviously. So this is you, right? So you're not a kidney. You're not a diabetes problem. You're not a, overweight problem. You're not a heart problem. You're all of this, and all of this resonates and vibrates together. So again, heal the body, heal the soul, heal the body. As above, so below, as above, all that stuff, right? So those philosophical, basically higher truths apply when we're talking about sort of our connections here in our holistic self. So last thing I want to talk about a little bit, I think we all can recognize that we, at times, we're of two minds, right? So if I kind of shut off my reasonable and logical mind and just go kind of on emotion and impulse, I can do that. And I think that's, I think it's harder. Well, let's just say this. So, again, and a lot of people live that way. So if I don't have some discipline around sort of my emotional mind, my impulsive mind, and by discipline, what I mean by that is religion, is boundaries, a template, right? Otherwise, I'm out there running around everywhere. But I need ethical boundaries or a template, a way to sort of judge good and bad behavior, things like that. So, that's more on the logical side of my mind. I tend to view this in a little different way. So I tend to view this as sort of spirit and impulse. And again, if I'm not fully in this body, let's say, with my soul, with my spirit, then it's going to be, more impulsive. And again, this is sort of a little weird, but you have bacteria, and we all have bacteria inside of us. I think we can live without that bacteria, and probably should strive to do that. There are certainly good bacteria, commiserate bacteria, but that doesn't mean we need them inside of us. There's definitely bad bacteria, and the bad bacteria produce brain chemicals. They produce dopamine and serotonin. So they have the ability to manipulate us if we don't have these spiritual, let's say, ethical, boundaries, and we have to be able to kind of override these impulses with spirit, if you will, with our more logical spiritual side. So again, this balance is probably our immune system, right? Our ability to kind of guard our temple. And we have to guard our temple physically, but we have to also guard our temple spiritually, emotionally, in every single way. And if we don't do that, we're kind of missing out on who we could be, aren't we? So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this Chip Talks. I hope you're kind of seeing the connection and the crossover. I like to be able to prove things, so hopefully I've been able to walk you through a logical path where there's some proof here, and you can, satisfy yourself if you're skeptical or you want to learn more. There's so much here, guys. We're so misled about how we work, about your health. Again, I think it's to keep you manipulatable, to keep you impulsive. If you're impulsive, if you're dull, if you're, not spiritual, if you're not with it, if you're not whole body, if you're not holistically connected, I can influence you. I can influence you with media. I can influence you with Justin Bieber. I can influence you with politics. I can influence you with a lot of different things. And that to me looks to be a system, that we live in. But anyway, I want you guys to step out of the system. I want you guys to see the matrix, and I want you to live the dream that we're living. So, love you guys. See you next week. Goodbye.